All right, welcome everybody to the NWO show.
There we go.
Just double checking, had a small issue there. All right, we are good to go. So,
Welcome, everybody.
welcome everyone. Simply put, we've got a full show for tonight. Tons of news, tons of things to cover, and I hope you guys are as pumped as we are, because there's a lot of good news for once, and some bad news. For those that can see, unfortunately, the Amazon Web Services, the data center here in Virginia, is apparently having some major problems, and has been having problems pretty much all day. This has resulted in US East going almost entirely down for a number of things, including New World. Many authorization servers run off US East and all that, so there's a lot of web services across the internet that are actually down at the moment. There's been some carry-on effects to various other programs and other regions, including some of the login server issues for I believe Europe had a couple of problems, and US West is having a couple of problems as well now. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun day for basically the entire internet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, that being the case, we wanted to lead with that. Yes, servers right now are a combination of down but not down. Basically, the login servers shot. So if you were already on prior to the issues, you may be still playing, but you may be really confused at why no one has joined in many hours. Yeah. Don't worry, there's no loss in data. It's just the server is not responding to your client anymore, or at the moment. It will be brought back up. There's there's no issues with anything at the moment other than, hey, the login servers are down because AWS is down. They have not given still do not have an ETA for full recovery at this time. That was about an hour ago. Prior to that, many services since then, many services have already recovered. However, they're still working towards a total recovery. They still haven't given a timeline on how long it's going to take, but they're actively using their engineers to try and solve the problem. You can assume people are working overtime to solve this, because we're talking about a pretty substantial data center going almost virtually completely offline. So lots of people are going to be a little bit peeved about that. So let's go back to last week, talking about the changes.
Should we do a very quick précis of our previous last episode?
Yeah.
So if you hadn't caught our last episode, our last episode, we basically went through the 1.1.1 patch. Checking out the changes to there. We covered the coin reimbursement and trading post issues that people were having. That I think the sort of euros were having. That we talked a little bit about the issues that people were having with bots, phishing bots, harvesting bots, all that kind of stuff. Sort of becoming a little bit more prevalent in various different servers, and I think we also touched on some of the game reviews after the sort of the Steam sales and stuff like that. But yeah, that was in last week's episode. But then we also had a special as well.
Yes. So we also had a special which covered the initial announcement of changes that were coming to the PTR, and eventually to the game. Those were, and this breaks right into our initial story. Those were not received well.
I
at
mean,
all.
the interesting thing is, if you go back and watch that special, like we were reacting to those changes, like at that moment, like the like as we were reading out the changes, like that was us basically learning of them firsthand. So like if you want to know sort of how we reacted to those changes, like right at that particular moment in time, like as we found them out, like that is the thing to go and rewatch essentially. And it's kind of interesting
Yes.
because some things that we said, some of the hot takes that we had, some of the things that we suggested, seem to have actually, you know, come together. You know, sort of they seem to have coalesced into something.
That they have, and I'm pretty happy. We can talk about what's happened since right after this, but basically,
Yes.
all of those changes, they have the right concept, where the idea is to make the end game post level 60 gear grind not nearly as painful, and provide more rewards for doing more end game content, more than just go grind one mob and hopefully you get everything you need.
They want it to be diverse, right? They want it to be so like instead of just, you know, this is the optimal kind of the optimal activity to do to increase your watermark or you know what will now be your expertise. They basically wanted it to craft a system that makes I don't think they want to force people into doing things, but they want to sort of like, you know, they want to promote people to try different content, and hopefully they will also tackle, you know, the problem from the other direction, which is to sort of, you know, make that content sort of make the content that is, you know, less enjoyed by people, or less sort of desired by people to sort of run. A little bit more desirable based on sort of the you know, what people get out of it, you know, sort of like the rewards for the time involved kind of thing. Hopefully they come at it from that kind of direction as well, because that's kind of one of the reasons why people sort of, you know, work toward a particular activity, because that's the optimal kind of strategy, the optimal path. And if the optimal path is basically, you know, well, there's no optimal path because they're all basically almost exactly the same in terms of, like, you know, time invested versus the rewards that you get out of it, then, you know, then every single sort of aspect that you can, every single activity that you can do at the end sort of game after you hit level 60 is worthwhile to do. You know, but at least initially at the moment they kind of want to open it up and at least, you know, give people reasons to sort of try out the other kind of stuff as well.
Yes, and beyond that, one of the biggest challenges that you run into in game development is once you give somebody something, taking it away is the worst possible route you can go, because if the player feels like they are being nerfed in any way, it won't feel right.
Totally. Yeah.
Because of this, they also want to make sure that they're, you know, kind of, you want to make sure that when you make changes that you account for these things. And I believe that they kind of thought, oh hey, like this really isn't going to be that big of a deal, because it's very temporary. But they've since made some pretty massive changes based around a lot of the feedback. So like crafters complained that, hey, like I haven't been running this end of game content because I've been out gathering and building and getting my, you know, building my own gear, which, hey, that's huge. Like, you know, if you can build level 600 gear score items, you should be able to use level 600 gear score items. Like you worked up for that. And that was many people's way of actually getting to that point. Or if you ground the gold to get level 600 gear score items, you know, and because they were level 600, you know, you wanted to be able to continue to have that. So this kind of creates this this feeling of, well, it's being taken away from me, even temporarily, as I relevel those things. So that was kind of a non-starter for many people. And I mean, even us on stream, we were not particularly thrilled with that.
I think one of the things that I think we need to clear up like straight away, because I saw it consistently, and there were a couple of Reddit threads as well that came up, basically sort of apparently stating this, because somebody decided to go and talk to some other random person who works for Amazon in a completely separate area, to ask them a question about this, and they basically gave the answer that they wanted to hear, or they wanted to tout, kind of thing. But essentially, you are not going to lose any kind of gear, any kind of high watermark kind of progression that you've accrued so far when they move over to the new system. Like, it's going to be converted over. This whole kind of ridiculous conspiracy, like basically ridiculous like hearsay of like them of AGS like resetting people's high watermark. It's complete fabrication. It's false, completely false.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many, like, it's funny because you go on the forums, and if you go to the forums and you go to sort of like the dev posts and stuff like that and scroll down, you get to this point where you just see like dev post after dev post after dev post, just like basically saying the same thing, like, no, we're not resetting your high watermark, no, we're not resetting this, no, we're not resetting this, like, because it's being peddled by so many people like that just hear it and think that because they've read it on the internet it's true. It's like, it's not the case. Just because some random person has said like, oh yeah, this is what's happening, so it doesn't mean that they have the authority for it. Like,
yeah. Now to clarify for those in chat, we're covering what other people's complaints were. Whether you feel they're valid or not is a whole different thing. But please maintain being nice to each other. That said, basically it's been cleared up. Now, on top of that, many of the things as they were announced were hard nerfs to people who had crafted their gear and didn't, basically anybody who hadn't taken the time to go through and grind their gear score, it was actually really bad. Like, it was a solid nerf to their play and would bring them back down to their whatever their high water mark was, instead of keeping what it is. Now, this is where things changed, and we're going to talk about the update yesterday. 21 hours ago, they came out with this update, and this is huge. Thank you all for your continued feedback on the expertise and Gypsum system. Whenever possible, we want to share upcoming changes and discuss them with you so that we can build a better game together. Your feedback on this system has greatly improved the direction, so thank you again. Before diving in, we want to be clear that we are dedicated to not reducing the power of players in the world, other than cases addressing bugs and imbalance problems, which I think we're all okay with that. I don't think anybody should be off board at this point.
True.
The rest of the post details how we're achieving that while retaining the benefits of the expertise and Gypsum system. So, the big change. In early 2022, when we start reducing the effectiveness of your gear to your expertise level, we will exempt the following items, meaning this list of items will not be reduced at any point in time. So, any item that you craft, i.e. crafters who can craft level 600 gear, can use level 600 gear despite their expertise level being dramatically lower. So that's huge good thing for them.
That's specifically relating to things that they've crafted, by the way.
Yes, items that they have crafted personally. Any item that you earn from a quest. So for instance, if you complete some of the quests, you'll get 585 gear score items. They didn't want to reduce those down to, whatever your watermark was, or your expertise level would be at the time. It is what it is. Like, why would they give you an item that is far above what you can use? Allowing you to have something more powerful and kind of build you into the end game a little better. Any item that you purchase from the faction shop. Now, that's a solid question, and I want to answer that because that comes up as well here.
Yeah, we are going to get to it for sure. Like there is more positives for crafters, and there's more positives for people purchasing. So
anybody that's got gold wants to pay attention to what's about to happen here. When these changes are implemented, gear score scaling will only apply to items sold or traded after that patch.
So everything before,
i.e., go buy 600 gear score stuff now, and it won't downgrade.
Yeah, it won't basically reduce its effectiveness to your gear score.
That also means that right now, if you have a full set of Void Ment armor that you purchased off the market, you're not getting downgraded. None of your stuff is getting down. The stuff that you currently have right now will stay exactly as it is, even past that, even past when this is actually rolled out. So that is huge. That is absolutely huge. Basically they grandfathered everybody in, and then they went, hey, if you're a crafter, we shouldn't be punishing you for doing content that you like. Go continue to craft, and if you can craft level 600 gear score stuff, you can use it. Any item that you earn from a quest makes sense. Hey, we're giving you an item, why should it be worth less than what we give it to you for? And any item that you purchase from a faction shop, you're already grinding to get the item. Why should it be brought down? It's a way to get that higher level. So that makes total sense.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
I kind of feel like it's one of these infomercial situations, right? Like,
yeah. So now this right here is a sentence that you don't hear very often in gaming. When we thought about it more, reducing the power for existing players is just unacceptable, and something we will not do. We initially thought it being only temporary and giving a new path to gain back that power with the gypsum would be acceptable, but it is now clear that we were wrong.
Holy fuck.
They have accepted that they were wrong, the community was right, and they have decided to go with what the community wanted. That's big.
I mean, I'd just like to thank them for being, for their humility there.
Yes.
Thank you for not trying to strong arm us into this. Thank you very much for actually listening to us. Thank you very much for, not being stubborn and not sort of, trying to talk down to us as if we're children, or as if we, we don't know what we're talking about.
Exactly.
So, thank you.
Now, I have some criticism. I think that in future notes like this, they should state, hey, this is our proposed system. We would like to work with you to iron out any issues.
Yeah.
Preface that with, hey, this is flexible. This is what we came up with. How does this jive with the community? Is this something that we can move forward with? What major things do we need to change? Because, hey, basically the biggest complaints here are...
the shot across the bow, really.
Yeah, like downgrading people. And taking that away, everything else that was announced in that was actually pretty good. And they already made some changes. So if people are paying on the PTR right now, public test realm, you'll notice that the cost to build one of these casks hasn't changed yet, but they have announced this. The cost to build one of these casks was 100 gold, or to build the orb it was 100 gold. To build the
cost was
the actual cask was 475, which was an enormous amount of gold, right? Well,
yeah.
I sent them the math. Everybody else sent them the math. There was a huge Reddit thread about it. Like, the whole works.
Yeah,
the community
was
like, hold your shit here. Like, you're asking us if we want to do 7 of these things a day. You're asking us for 4,500 gold. Like, what? And it was like, no, non-starter.
It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. So they turned around and said, hey, you know what? We're going to dramatically reduce this. And apologies, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here because I wanted to cover this because it's huge. Reduce the cost of crafting a gypsum orb to 2.5 coin from 100. Huge.
And it's kind of funny because,
change.
a lot of people were kind of saying like, oh yeah, if they reduce it like 50%, that would be great. Like at least for a start. Like, nah, let's not do 50%. Let's like go completely all the way down. Like 2.5 coin from 100 is ridiculous. Yeah, but then
I was hoping for like a decimal shift. They moved it twice, so like I'm okay with that.
But wait,
and the gypsum cask went from 475 to 5 gold because we decided there was no need to add another coin expense for our level 60 players, but kept a minimal amount so the in-game territory owners could earn a little bit more tax income. Super.
Yeah. Excellent.
So anyway. that was kind of a big one. I'm gonna go back up to where we were. This updated system also allows reading multiple lines at one time. This is not going well so far for my mental state. This updated system will also give players alternative ways to equip themselves if they don't want to engage in the expertise system. Crafting especially will gain even more importance in New World, since any item you craft will be usable at that gear score regardless of expertise. Quest and faction shop items and will be other alternatives to good gear, and both are things that can continue to introduce more of in the future. So that's big. We acknowledge this change will create a difference between the way the game worked before this change and after. We recognize that some players who haven't hit 60 yet and acquired their gear may feel like the game got harder for them. Hopefully this is offset with the addition of gypsum as a new avenue that previous players didn't have. Now, there's a few changes to this gypsum system that are like absolutely vital to discuss. So don't let me bypass those, but I want to continue with what they're saying here. In addition, we will implement the gear score scaling, or when we will implement the gear score scaling, we will now only reduce the effectiveness to the middle of your expertise and the item's gear score, basically taking the average. So if your musket expertise is 520 and you buy a 600 gear score musket off the market, your effective gear score will be 560. This combined with getting all of the perks should create good value in the marketplace for future users. So
now I just want to I'm going to take this moment because like I specifically remember that I suggested this when we were going over the initial kind of proposals. Like we were literally going through it line by line, and at one point I was like, people are going to hate this. People are going to hate being dropped from the gear score that they're running at the moment back down to the watermark that they have at the moment. Like, and I remember basically saying, if you're going to do anything, at least meet us halfway. At least go half and half like, give us a a half house kind of thing, where you kind of meet us in the middle with the effectiveness of the weapon, rather than taking us all the way down to where our high watermark is. And yeah, I'm surprised. I was shocked actually when I read this initially, and I was like, wait, they actually took that and actually decided that seemed to be pretty good. Like,
yes.
Fuck yeah.
And so the thing is,
awesome.
this is actually going to make it still viable for crafters, because if I want to sell my goods, so let's say I make 600 gear score items, I'm still a value to somebody who just turned level 60, because they can turn around and say, hey, I want that level 600 because it's going to up my craft, or up my level, or up my gear score, but I haven't ground to that gear score yet. So it's still going to be, you're still going to be able to buy better equipment than you can have, or than you have, and it's still going to be able to advance you. Just it's going to not be you're not going to be able to skip straight to 600.
The important thing as well is that it gives a bit of it keeps a bit of a market there for crafters to actually, we all get up to the point where they actually implement this. Crafters are going to be making money because they can make gear score 600 stuff, and that stuff is going to be grandfathered in and not sort of affected by the sort of the change, right? But afterwards, there's a lot more time afterwards than before. But after the changes come in, there's still going to be that market there. It's going to be reduced somewhat, but nowhere near how it could have been reduced if they went with the original system.
Yes.
So I'm really glad that there's still going to be a decent market, not just for crafters, not just for getting the right perks for the various different weapons, but actually also in making high gear score stuff for people who are just starting out on that gear score or high watermark / expertise grind.
Yes,
which is good.
And for those that have already ground into their high watermark, when it converts over to the expertise system, whatever your high watermark is now, when that patch finally goes through, is what your expertise level is. They're just changing the name and making it visible. It's not. There's no backtracking. They're not saying nobody's getting reset. And on that note, people need to stop asking support questions about technical features coming to the game. Please, for the love of God. They do not know. Ask on the forums, have a dev give an actual answer. If you ask the support people, unfortunately they don't know, and as everyone has seen, we continually see them say things that just aren't true.
Yeah, because the thing is, they feel obligated to try and answer that question in a way that they feel that will help you, or make you feel better, or at least help you in some way, shape, or form. So they may ask their initial superior, and if their superior gives them the wrong answer and they tout it to you like we've seen, that gets basically paraded onto Reddit, and then 1,001 people are suddenly up in arms about something that is demonstrably false. So try to direct your questions to people on the actual New World forums,
so
rather than going to rando AGS.
And this is the level of detail that you can expect from us. We in the past we've showed this job posting, of which is still available, and you guys can go and apply for this job if you think this is something that you'd be good at. This job posting is basically the overarching connection between all of the different teams and getting everybody on the same page, formalizing it into an actual job. So the Amazon Games Player Experience team acts as a centralized customer service bar raisers between internal customer service, outsourced customer service, i.e. they don't actually work for AGS, game development, business teams, and Amazon customers. Note, that's several different things and several different companies. Lots of people to get on the same page. we've noticed that this has been a challenge. Like, anybody who's been watching has noticed that this has been a challenge to get all of these teams on the same page. Them formalizing this into a job position, it's huge news. So like when we talk about like stop going to support for questions about future content, they're going to try and answer, but like they're probably not going to be on the same page. That's the reality. I wanted to hit that as hard as I could, and the only way I could figure to do that is this job posting, of which I'm going to put in chat. And if you guys feel like you're qualified to sign up and you want to like work for Amazon, there you go.
Yeah, and just as a little PSA, I believe, or at least according to the server status on newworld.com, it seems. Oh no, wait, I was looking at the wrong one. My bad. Yeah.
East is still down.
Scratch that. East is still down. East is still in maintenance. I refreshed the page and it like moved over to West, and it's like, oh, it's on. It's fine, but it's not. God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry
So
about that, guys.
those are some of the big changes. We already talked about some of the tuning based on the PTR feedback and playing with the expertise and gypsum system. We're going to make a number of tuning and balance adjustments to the system. Please keep in mind these have not been tested, so consider them directional examples of the changes we're planning for December. So we already talked about them reducing the gold cost. So if you go into the PTR right now, to build the gypsum orb is 100 gold, and to build the cast was 475. This was obviously unacceptable. Like, I know I pitched a fit. Like when I saw it, I was like, I'm sorry, wait, you want me to spend how much gold? Like, yeah, no. And they didn't just nerf that. Like, this isn't like the nerf bat. This is like if Nerf started World War III on something.
It's like we've created an ultimate Nerf bat. We call it the Nerf ICBM. Like,
so they brought the cost down from those from 100 for the orbs to 2.5 gold. So huge drop in cost. And the gypsum cast from 475 to 5. Like, that is like, in terms of dramatic hits, there's like, you couldn't have hit that much harder if you tried. Like, and that's much appreciated. And they recognize again that, hey, we decided there was no need to add another coin expense for our level 60 players, but kept a minimal amount so the endgame territories would earn a little bit more tax income. Because those territories actually have a surprisingly low amount of people living there.
And if you're wondering which particular territories, because like, these things require basically a new sort of a new kind of thing to sort of create. Like, you need a kiln in order to create these. And most of the endgame territories have this. But the thing is, a lot of the endgame territories are, uncapturable territories aside from Evanscale and Reekwater, and so those are the two territories that are claimable, that have kilns, and that could potentially get taxes from creating these things.
Yeah, and this will actually make Reekwater a much more desirable place to actually set up a house and live, because now it's the furthest place south to do any kind of orb and cast creation. So,
because to be completely honest, if you were in Reekwater and like you had to go all the way up to one of the northern territories in sort of like the Great Cleave or up at the Shattered Mountain, in order to actually cast these these things, it would be a right ball ache.
Yes. So one of the things that moving along on some of the changes here, the Topaz Gypsum, I believe this was the open world. You had to craft a specific potion to do it.
It's found on hostile creatures. Level 55 plus, but you have to consume a special attunement potion in order to
So
actually
they've
get the job.
changed that to daily instead of weekly and reduced the crafting ingredients to make it less difficult to craft, which
Nice.
it would have pretty rapidly cleared the market on like what was available if they'd have left it the way it was. So that's good to see. They've also, and this is at least meeting my main complaint at the halfway mark, with understanding that they're going to continue to push this in another way to like make it easier. Change Gypsum Earn cooldown timers from 22 hours to 18 hours, just to give a little bit more leeway to people's play schedules. In the future, we want to build a global cooldown system to make it easy to coordinate this and other daily activities like crafting and faction missions, but that is a lower priority than server merges and other critical fixes, so this would not happen in the short to medium term. So basically, for now, it's going to be 18 hours between, hey, I can now do this thing again, which is fine. Like, it's, 24-hour timers become ridiculous because you're constantly losing ground. 18 hours, you've got plenty of time.
I think it's nice. I think it's nice that like they acknowledge the fact that they need to work on a system that like is better than what they have at the moment, because it's one of those things like because they fashioned a really nice and really well tuned system, albeit a little bit convoluted initially for somebody to understand, which is one of the reasons why people kind of got a little bit freaked out when people learned of the the name literally just escaped my mind right now, like the sort of the XP kind of cooldown system is. Which one am I thinking of?
Expertise?
No, not expertise. Just the general kind of them. No, none of that. Like before you get to level 60.
Oh, like your player progression level?
Yeah.
Like just your general level?
Yeah, when you're not playing
Rested
for ages,
XP.
it builds up. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
that's the one. That's the guy.
Spirals Ghost, thank you for that.
Thank you very much, dude. They created the Rested XP system, and in actual fact, that system in and of itself is actually freaking genius in the way that it's nowhere near as abusable in any way, shape, or form as a lot of systems in other games when it comes to sort of like XP and allowing the more casual kind of players to be able to sort of keep up with the more hardcore kind of guys, right? But once you hit 60, that system just becomes null and void. It's non-functional. You can't, like, there's no rested XP for for your grind up on your high watermark system, right? There's no rested XP for other aspects of the XP kind of system, the various other XP systems, like, and I think that's kind of one of the things that's sort of slightly missing from the sort of like from the end game. It is like that ability for kind of the more casual players to kind of like keep up a little bit, and for a system to not be basically open to abuse by players who are playing a ridiculous amount kind of thing.
Yes.
And I'm glad that they kind of seen that the system that they have after level 60, with the cooldown timers and stuff, isn't a perfect solution, and they need to work on it. But they obviously they do have prioritization and higher priorities, initially at least. But I'm glad that they've acknowledged that they still need to work on a system that is a little bit better than what they have.
Yes, and I think in the short term this is an acceptable fix. In the long term, being able to have everybody on the same, like, hey, it resets at 9 a.m., 9 a.m. tied to the server time, would be wonderful. Like, just so that it's like, hey, it resets, everybody's good for that day, like, unless they grind earlier than somebody else, which then it resets at the same time for everybody and just makes it much easier to plan ahead with people. So that'll be a big one. They've adjusted the way expertise bumps work so that there is a minimum as well as a maximum. Currently, there is no minimum, which can result in a few bad rolls at the start, really demoralizing players. So this will also decrease the average bumps needed to get from minimum to maximum expertise. Our goal is to average around 35. I want to preface this with, I don't think this sentence is complete.
It is. It's just, you have to understand that, like, when they put numbers onto it, like, they don't mean that's the kind of the bump amount that you're going to be getting. It's basically that, between 520 and 600, they want on average there to be 35 jumps from 520 to 600.
Yeah, I don't.
So it's
I don't know if
you jump on
this
average
could be
35
read.
times.
This could be read in a number of ways. I don't think that it's.
I think it does need
low.
clarification. I definitely think it does need clarification. But I think what they're trying to say is the progression from 520 expertise to 600. They want it to sort of basically be on average around about 35 jumps to get to 600. Yeah, that's the way I read it.
I think that we need to push for clarity on this, because there's two ways of reading it, and one of them is that we should be averaging each time it goes up to be 35. On average increase, which means like if that's the average, then like there's going to be over that and under that, which is
I like, really just don't think that the jump's going to be that big. That's a colossal jump compared to to the jumps that we have at the moment.
Yeah, so I think that deserves some clarification and some testing to see exactly what they do mean by that, because so they've also moved the Gypsum rewards from caches to events. A few activities such as Outpost Rush, Corrupted Breaches, Arenas, and Aptitude gain granted Gypsum in the cache in the PTR. This leads to hoarding and uncertainty if using a cache now is safe. For instance, like right now, the thought process is, I'll just save up all my Outpost Rush casks or all of my rewards for Outpost Rush. I just won't collect the what's in the boxes until after the patch, and then I can collect 50 of them or a couple hundred of them, and just have a boatload of these sitting around.
Because you don't know that, like, in sort of like say in the future that we AGS may move the yardstick at some point. I mean, they're most likely to move the yardstick at some point, kind of thing. This is kind of how the progression system sort of works in a lot of in a lot of MMORTS, not RTS, MMORPGs. But like that's the thing. It's kind of what was I going to go? What was I getting to it?
Chat, I think you're right.
Yeah,
3 to 5. I think is what it's supposed to say. Yeah. It's 3 to 5. Yeah. That would make a lot more sense.
But this way, you don't have people like hoarding like whole massive amounts of like chests or caches with this kind of stuff. And so at some point when AGS kind of go, okay, well the new watermark system is now maximum is now 650 or now 700, right? You don't have those people who go, right, let me open my 600 caches and get a whole bunch of increases to my expertise, and suddenly you have people like immediately, as soon as this happens, as soon as they move the goalpost up a bit, that immediately there's people with that are sitting at 700, right?
Yeah. So one of the things that isn't covered here, and it was covered in prior announcements, is that when you run expeditions, so Genesis, on every boss, they're guaranteeing a gear score increase. So an expertise bump.
Yeah.
On something. So that's another factor for that. Additionally, open world chests, open world bosses still have the chance to so you can still grind this the old way. This is additive.
Yeah, it's
and
additive.
it's targeted.
This isn't. Yeah.
So
this isn't a replacement.
You can do
this
other stuff and still make your expertise go up. This is additive to that. It's not tied specifically to that. Like if this was the only system, yeah, it would be painful, it would be long, it would be arduous, and people would hate it. But because it's additive, you can still do the old way, but this gives you a way to say, hey, like I was really hoping for a change to my Great Axe today. I've only got 30 minutes to play. I'm going to quick do a couple of Outpost Rush matches, finish those matches, go build my orb and cast, and then I've got my thing, and I'm good to go.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that we do have to sort of say for clarity as well is, these are additive. The sort of the gypsum kind of system is additive to the system that is already in place at the moment, but there is potentially going to be, and from what people have seen and showcased as well from the PTR, there is a reduction in the percentage chance that you're going to be getting a gear score or a expertise increase. Just from in terms of general kind of you call general kind of grinding in this regard. Considering the changes that we've seen, AGS kind of come out with to the original plan, like I would not be surprised if they also, change and don't nerf the increase in or the decrease in percentage chance that you're going to get an increase, by the amount that people have kind of said, right? So
yes,
the nerfs to that amount to the chance that you're going to get an increase might not be as severe as what people have been are seeing at the moment on the PTR.
Yes. One thing to note, and James Fowler here is making some really good points in chat. Cash rolls are determined on opening, so holding them for new weapons is a good idea. This is actually a really important thing. So like if you don't need something out of a Outpost Rush cache, like if it's not vital to you, hold on to those caches and don't open them, because when you get up to that much higher level gear score, it rolls based on when you open it, not when you earned it. So that is an important fact. That is an important distinction. So there is still like people should still consider stockpiling stuff for later and opening those crates later on. But there's one less reason to do that, i.e. you don't have to open it to get the you for now you don't have to open it to get gypsum. So
yeah, and I imagine the whole idea of the over 100 days to go from 500 to 600 gear score on all items, it is based on essentially based on the gypsum system, right? Because that's the system that you can be fairly certain that certain things can happen over a certain period of days. Determining whether you're going to get a gear score roll or a high watermark increase based on just like your general activity in sort of like fighting and killing bosses, elite bosses, and opening up elite chests and that kind of thing. Like those are all percentage chance based, and it's very difficult unless you do a lot of it. Which I'm fairly certain I don't think everybody's done a good amount of it on the PTR so far. Plus the PTR is subject to change. Like I don't think people have done enough to be able to determine the average amount of time or a decent average amount of time for your high watermark or your sort of expertise to increase from that alone to be able to determine how long it will take. So yeah, fair enough. Just using the gypsum system to increase your high water mark, your expertise system, for everything may take 100 days, but that's only if you're doing it via gypsum. And the thing is, like, if you're doing what you're doing to get the gypsum, you're going to be partaking in the general kind of gear score, the high watermark or expertise system increase anyway. So it's going to be faster than that.
Yeah. And of course, it's also much faster than that days-wise to grind your crafting to 200, to be able to build 600 gear score items yourself.
Yeah.
So there's also that side of things where you can craft your own stuff at much less work. The nice thing here is that instead of the purpose behind the gypsum system is at least once per day per item. So there's a bunch with this that's actually like very nuanced. Once per day per item. So if you stockpile your gypsum, you can stockpile casks and run one per day in builds, and guarantee that you move your great axe expertise up once a day. And you can do this with what is now 7 different different types of content that you can earn this through. And through doing those, there are additional ways of getting additional bumps, and bosses throughout the world will continue to raise your gear score as well. So like, it's not the only way, it's an additive way, but it is also a way that you can target instead of hoping for a random, I'm hoping for a random great axe drop that's going to increase it. It's, hey, here's, I want my great axe to go up. I'll use gypsum for this. I want the next level up. So yeah.
But you see, the thing is, with the percentage chance of getting high watermark or expertise system increases, like, you can't go on just what the PTR is at the moment. And I know that that's the only thing that like people can kind of go on at the moment, but like, as we've seen and as we've kind of gone through with the changes that they want to do with the various different systems that were initially kind of proposed to us, that doesn't mean that the 10 the 10 to 15x kind of reduction in chance isn't actually going to be reduced to maybe only 5%, 5x or 2x, like between 2 and 5x maybe, for example, right? So that means that the whole idea of the timing, the time that it takes on average to increase from 520 to 600 for everything is suddenly changed as well. So
no, I do think that there's a discussion to be had about like the open world drops and stuff like that, not getting nerfed into the ground. Like, I think that that's something that should also be a discussion point to bring to the devs as, hey, like, let's not make this a pain to do. They have stated that when things proc in the open world, that they are going to increase at a larger rate than they used to, but more uncommon than they used to. So let's hope that they don't nerf it into oblivion, because that's that is a discussion point that's worth having. So
yeah. And if it comes up, if there's a good and lively debate and a good reasoning behind sort of not nerfing it by 10 or 15 times, then I think as long as there's solid reasonings behind not nerfing it that much, I think they'll be open to to reducing that amount, so it's not as punitive as people think it is, or think it could end up being. But it takes people to actually sort of to come up to bring it up in conversation, to bring it up on the forums, and to to fight that corner, right?
answering the question from chat here, what happens if my gear... sorry, it scrolled past it apparently here. What if all my gear has been crafted 600 gear score, but I didn't make it? When these changes are implemented, gear score scaling will only be applied to items sold or traded after that patch. I.e., if you have the gear now, it's not getting any worse.
And if you're making the gear for yourself, then even after the patch, it'll be fine, because that won't be affected.
Yes.
By patch, we don't mean, obviously, the patch isn't the next patch coming along. This is a patch that's going to be happening in 2022.
Yes. Right now, the thing to do would be run to the market and go buy 600 gear score stuff.
And crafters are like, this is our
Crafters,
time to make money.
This is your moment. This is what you trained for.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big one. That's some large changes, all based on player feedback. Is this in the next patch? We don't know for sure. We will find out when they announce that patch, which has to be either this week or next week, because the patch also, or the patch for sure, there is going to be content coming in the next patch, because the winter event comes in the next patch, and we know through a relatively substantial leak that that event is going to run from the 14th of December through the 11th of January. So, yeah. US East, as far as we know, is still down. This is an AWS issue, not a like the internet itself. The data center that it is being hosted at has been having problems all day. It is not specific to New World, although New World is affected by it. So I've been throughout the show, I've been flashing this screen. This is the AWS status website, and you can all read here that, hey, they're still working on it, and you can see API Gateway has elevated errors and latencies, degraded contact handling on Amazon Connect, Elastic. These don't mean anything to anybody who's not highly technically competent. So basically, the data center's having some problems.
They're trying to resolve as to they're trying to. I mean, it affects so many businesses, and because of that, it affects AWS is bottom line as such. Like it affects their income source, right? So it is priority number one for them to fix. So they are doing everything that they can to figure out what the problem is and to resolve it as fast as they can, because it's not just something that is affecting New World. It's something that affects like legitimate important businesses.
Yes. So just checking in on some other stuff.
Apologies for our bot being a little bit punitive on people who utilize the term the term various different botting terms. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
it's just to make sure that people don't accident. It's there to basically prevent people from discussing botting, or discussing ways to bot in the chat while we're otherwise sort of like busy talking about some other aspect of New World's kind of New World news or New World development as such. That's kind of one of the reasons why.
Yes. So something that was supposed to happen today as well, unfortunately, due to these issues, has also been pushed back till tomorrow. Is the first server merge was supposed to happen today. So it's supposed to be Marty and Bridia is now moved till tomorrow. But that was supposed to happen today. They were supposed to merge it, and then we'd start seeing, hey, is there any problems? And hopefully we'd start seeing some more wide-scale merges where we can start seeing substantially more population on servers through these merges. But
yeah. And if you are in one of those servers, like, definitely keep an eye as to your stuff, your levels. Like, if you can get a snapshot of like all of your different levels and stuff like that, just to make sure that when the server merge does happen, you can kind of compare and contrast between what it was before the merge and what it was after the merge, just so nothing's changed, nothing moves, nothing disappears or goes goes for a wander kind of thing. So because that all helps AGS like make sure that that the server merge went successfully.
Yep. And of course, like, naturally this would have been a perfect thing to do today, but unfortunately, because the data centers are in question at the moment, it's one of those, hey, we're not, like, it's just not a smart idea to move that volume of player data and expect it to go smoothly. So this is just a better way of just ensuring, hey, let's make sure that this is done correctly and under the proper circumstances, not while the data center's literally on its knees failing. Like, this smart decision to delay this until problems are solved.
I mean, I hope it's not as, I hope it's not like a sort of a I hope the situation that they're having isn't a situation that is as almost boneheaded as the one that Facebook had. Because that was just, when I found out like kind of what happened there, or at least sort of what was presumed to have happened there, that just sounded like a complete, like, someone had a moment someone had a moment in an area where, like, they could completely screw a system up. And yeah, hopefully there's some checks, some confirmation boxes before people do that kind of thing for AWS services. So hopefully it's not something as boneheaded as that.
This is the first time that they've had with the current system, this is the first time that they've had a server merge. During the beta, there was a server merge. However, there were problems with it, which is why we haven't seen them until recently, where they've been laying the groundwork to fix those problems that occurred during the beta. Like, people lost things in the beta because of it. So, simply put, it's taken this long because they want to make sure they do it right, because they're working with your data.
Exactly.
Like, imagine if you join, you come back in, you go, oh, great, we merged, and I no longer have any of my houses. Like, you would be furious. So getting this right is important. And not just a little right, like, you have to nail it 100%. Otherwise, you're gonna cleaning up that size of database is just not fun. Like,
no, that is colossal. That's going to be a colossal database as well.
Yeah, so that it very much happened. I was there.
Yeah.
Was there, saw it happen. Like, it was a thing. Unfortunately, that's why it's taken so long to get to this point. It wasn't just because they were like, oh, let's let all of the servers drop to massively low populations, and it's like, no. It's because they're trying to make sure that this is done right, because there was issues in the past. Otherwise, they would have just started rolling it out the second there was lower populations, and yeah. So that's a big one. Let's talk about roaming open world turkey bosses.
Just quickly before that, I just want to reiterate something that we kind of quickly said it earlier on in the show, but I think considering that there's some other people I definitely saw this question come up. But if you haven't received your harvesting set, from Amazon, from AGS yet, you should definitely check the forums, because there is definitely a forum where you should go and make a post saying that you haven't received your set that was removed at some point. And yeah, they'll furnish you with a set. So yeah.
Yes. So at this point, they've completed that process, but I'm sure that if you mention on the forums, hey, I still haven't got my set, like, you had to have had a set in the past.
Yeah, that's the important thing. Like, they had to have removed a set from you to be granting you a set, like to be granting you a replacement set now. So yeah.
This is a good question. A little off topic from what we're covering, but how do you guys manage the various groups of sets of gear? I store mine in different towns. They're all locked, but I keep them all together, and they've all got very specific purposes, but I store them in different towns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad they have the lock system now.
Yes. So, roaming open world turkey bosses, dropping actually pretty good food.
Yeah.
So this was kind of a hidden thing with the update, or with one of the latest updates. It's kind of comical, giant turkey bosses for Thanksgiving, always a good time. Yeah, I think that was a nice touch, little something different, nothing crazy. I don't think anybody complained about it, other than like it wasn't in the patch notes, which. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there are certain things that I hope they start to add into the patch notes. There are certain things that I think that they should,
I'm throwing A's an image of the turkey boss, by the way.
Yes.
Just so you guys understand, like, the turkey boss, like large or giant roaming turkey boss, like, just so you guys get a feel for the size and scale.
That is one big bird.
Like, god damn.
Oh yeah. So I personally thought that was a pretty good touch. I think it's good stuff to have. Any kind of themed content, it's not required, but like, I think it aids in helping celebrate. Yeah. So with that, we've also got. Oh no, that's the end of our patch notes, or that's the end of our notes.
We blew through those those notes.
We went too quickly, guys. I want to know what you guys want to hear about. Can talk about at this point. Let's open it up for basically a Q&A. I know things. I hope I know things.
I think one of the questions out there is regarding gear score, 600 gear score items that have been crafted. Should people care about expertise if they can craft 600 gear score items? Yes and no. At this particular point in time, no, you don't have to. If you can craft 600 gear score items for yourself, or sell them, or purchase 600 gear score items, you don't really need to worry about your expertise or your gear or your sort of high watermark, because those items will perform like 600 gear score items. They won't get reduced in effectiveness, but the system is there to sort of to promote people, the players to sort of to try out a variety of different content more consistently. And after the implementation of the gypsum system, and transferring the system from the high watermark system to the expertise system, we don't know if there's going to be an increase to the cap of the sort of like the sort of like the gear score or the high watermark sort of system. We also don't know. Well, actually, in actual fact, we do know that there are going to be new weapons eventually coming out, and those aren't going to be things that people are going to have 600 gear score items with, or have trained their expertise up for that thing as well. So it's kind of like a yes or no, yes and no at this particular point in time. No, you don't have to worry about expertise if you have 600 gear score items, but you will have to worry about grinding that up at some point after the system comes in, and after AGS raise certain caps and introduce new weapons and new gear.
Yes.
Potentially.
So there's a few questions I want to answer, but I want to take a moment first. I want to thank everybody for following, for subscribing, for all of that. One of the questions that was asked is, how long have we been a talk show? Or how long has this been going on that they didn't know about it? We have been creating New World content for 2 years. People will probably wonder, but wait, launch was 2 months ago. Like, what's going on?
I think in actual fact, our anniversary, our 2-year anniversary for starting this stuff is literally next Tuesday.
Yes.
Or somewhere
it will
around
be a
next Tuesday.
celebration. There will be giveaways. It will be a great time. So
yeah.
I'm hoping people will be here for it. It's our 2-year celebration. I of course need to thank the enormous amount of support from the community, the newworldfans.com for helping us, and all of our Patreons and everybody who's subscribed and donated over the years. Like, it's literally, we wouldn't be at this point without you guys. But let's get right back into answering questions here. I'd like to know your opinion on crafters being able to sell their crafts and their crafts remaining at gear score 600 regardless of the watermarks. Watermarks should be for drops only. I think
I've always
the 50-50 system that they came up with is a fair balance there, where you're still going to be able to sell something that's above somebody's watermark and they still get a benefit out of it.
I just want to say that I suggested that.
Yeah. I think that this is fair and still gives people incentive to grind their watermark while not nuking crafting into the ground.
Yeah.
So I think that's that's pretty fair.
There is a point to be said, that there's an argument there to say that, like, crafting wouldn't be nerfed to the ground, but it would be minimized in some way, shape, or form. Like, even if they didn't implement that system, and the effectiveness of gear was reduced down to your high watermark, whatever it is, there would still be a degree of value when it comes to crafting, because the particular perks on various different things matter significantly when it comes to end level gear. It's just if crafting, if the entirety of crafting comes down to just those little perk kind of differences, then I think there would be that kind of that amount of trade is just there's not much there. But thankfully they're giving it a little bit more room to breathe, for it to sort of for crafters to actually sort of make money, and to hone their craft and do their thing, which is great.
Do you guys think the game is being put into a better state with the upcoming changes for content to keep players playing? I do. Like, I actually think that the winter updates, like the new content around the winter festival, I think is actually going to be pretty solid. Apparently the game is now back up, according to somebody in chat. So as our audience drops off.
there's I mean, I'm looking at the US East server status, Aztlan apparently is the only server that has a full online tick, but I imagine that there is going to be more servers that are going to be coming online now. But like it looks like there is, a few servers on US East that are starting to come online.
Well, that's good.
I mean, I'm looking at.
So it looks like
looking
soon
at
then. Yeah, looks like soon.
PM.
Yeah. If we're starting to see status changes, then I mean we're starting to go in the right direction.
Yeah.
So that's good news. I'm pretty optimistic. I think that the game's got a solid path forward. I'm looking forward to any kind of new content. I know we've been hoping to see Brimstone Sands about as soon as possible, because obviously new content, new expeditions, new etc. is always something that is desired. I think that having more than 2 endgame expeditions is going to be a huge benefit. I also think that the system that's been toyed with, and data miners have found about the change to lower level expeditions and having what basically seems like a difficulty setting to run them at higher levels could be an interesting and rewarding way of changing and making lower level expeditions accessible and worth running again for higher level players. But of course, adding new expeditions is always vital. Like I'm looking forward to Brimstone Sands because it's going to bring in some new story, it's going to bring in more gameplay, and just some more options. So, yeah.
I'm still hoping and praying that there's going to be some additional kind of like interesting things to do other than just the sort of like other than just an expansion of the stuff that we already have that we can do in terms of like end game kind of activity.
There's apparently an ad playing.
Well,
we do get supported, so if anybody got hit with this ad, feel free to vote in it. It does support the channel, but I really wish Twitch would have asked first.
Yeah, they tend to kind of like just force it on us as such. Hopefully we're going to give them some feedback as to how we feel with the ad placements and that kind of thing. But
Twitch, you're killing yourself. You're cannibalizing yourself for money.
Yeah, hopefully they implement something a little bit less invasive. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah, that's apologies for that, but thank you to anybody who votes in the multiplayer ad, apparently. So,
thank you.
Yeah. So
I'm definitely looking forward to.
Yeah, it's over.
Sorry?
There we go. Wanted to make sure it was over.
I'm definitely. Oh, okay. I'm definitely looking forward to to trying out the sort of like all the winter events and stuff.
Absolutely.
Especially the ice caves kind of thing, because interestingly enough, they seem to want to implement something that's a little bit more, dependent on players as to whether whether the effects of winter stay for an extended period of time or not, because apparently the ice caves are likely to persist beyond the sort of like the sort of like the winter festivities kind of time period, if players don't actually fight against them or sort of like fight to clear them in some way, shape, or form. So that's going to be interesting. Like, I wonder how that's going to play out.
Yeah, like I'm excited for this. I think we're like, as a game, we're poised, like as a community, we're poised to come back. As a just overall, I think things are starting to look better. They're starting to take time in between patches to ensure they get it right and get the feedback necessary to make sure the community's good with the changes, and incorporating that feedback, which I think is the vital part. So, to the
think
person
people
who
are still
just
a little
posted
confused.
there, I can't read the name because it's like a weird color for me.
The Lunathenian.
Yeah. So this is important for you because I think you're going to calm down pretty dramatically. In early 22, when we start reducing the effectiveness of gear to your expertise level, we will exempt the following items. Any item that you craft is exempt, so it will stay at 600 gear score. Any item that you earn from a quest will stay at whatever it was earned at. Any item you purchase from a faction shop will stay at whatever it was sold at. And when these changes are implemented, gear score scaling will only be applied to items sold or traded after that patch. Meaning anything that you have right now doesn't get downgraded.
Yep. Anything that you purchased, via the trading post or anything like that, will not be affected.
Yes. So this is
prior to the patch.
Hopefully that that's the best thing I heard all week. Thank you.
Exactly.
That's the thing. That's why we're in as good a mood as we are, because when we started this, we talked about where is it? We talked about this kind of thing, where this was the feedback of the patch initially. The game's dead to me. This is terrible.
Yeah, it's like, and I'm never logging in again. Bye, etc. So thank God this has changed.
I highly recommend reading this update, the 5th update on here, because they make a whole lot of things where, hey, we're making iterations to this. In the latest one, they give a ton more detail about the large changes that are basically all player feedback. One of the big ones that I bitched about almost immediately after I saw it was that when you went to build the gypsum orbs or the gypsum casks, it was an immense amount of money. To get one upgrade, you were paying almost 600 gold. And they've nerfed that dramatically based on player feedback, where it was, okay, you know what, instead of 100 for one item and 475 for the next step, they changed it to 2.5 coin and 5 coin. So if you can't spare 7 coin to upgrade your equipment, then I don't know what you're doing.
Sorry, I can't help you there, mate.
Go farm a little bit of green wood and sell it on the market, and you should be fine.
Go literally, gather some water and sell it at Everfall. Honestly.
Yeah. Best way to get from furnishing from 100 to 150 post patch. I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. I'm going to direct you to a different content creator for that question.
Yeah.
One that I don't frequently send people to either, but I've actually found more and more use for them recently. It's the Tradesman, New World Tradesman, and the Tradesman Bible. They make really good stuff. And here's their Discord link. They've got channels specific to each thing, and it's worth asking in there when it comes to what's the optimal way to craft towards a certain thing. I'm all about spreading the love, so
Yeah.
Could I spell that again? The link is in the chat. It's the New World Tradesman or the Tradesman Bible, New World Tradesman Bible, or something like that. They make good stuff. Good stuff.
Their Discord link is in chat, discord.gg/tradesman. I was gonna say or you could check out the guide that New World Fans has on crafting, on woodworking, whatever it is, but I don't think they actually have one.
I don't know if they do optimized paths to get to.
No.
But they do have good resources on New World Fans as well.
They generally do. I don't see that there's a crafting one specifically for that particular area of crafting. So
apologies for the bot. It can be a little bit aggressive. Just saw it nuke somebody, so apologies.
Oh yeah.
It only times you out for a little bit. That was a moderator. My bad.
Oh.
That's Crown doing his thing. You do you.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough.
If I have an item right now that is gear score 600 and is bind on equip, and I sell that after the patch, it will be reduced to 50% of the gap between it and the expertise. Correct?
Yes.
Provided the person's expertise isn't already at that level. But yes.
Yeah.
So, i.e., if you want to sell stuff to your friends, now's the time to do it. And sell high-level gear to people who are just hitting that level 60 or even pre-60. You know, hey, you got you got a couple hundred gold on you. You want to buy a 600 gear score set? You know, oh, but I'm only level 40. Doesn't matter. You're gonna want this. Like, it'll help him out in the long term for sure. So any item you buy, so let me run through the things here. So in early 2022, when they start reducing the effectiveness of gear from your expertise level, we will exempt the following items: any item that you craft, any item that you earn from a quest, any item you purchase from a faction shop. Now, the other kicker here is that when these changes are implemented, gear score scaling will only apply to items sold or traded after that patch. So if you have it prior to the patch, you're fine. You're going to stay exactly where you were. It's not going to get downgraded at all. Not even to the 50%. So basically, now's the time to buy. And there's a bunch of crafters out there who are like, just keep saying that. I keep selling. Yeah. Now's the time to buy. And crafters, this is the moment you trained for. Keep the market stocked.
Yeah, exactly.
You know. Yeah. Now, it's I think the 50-50 mark that they hit, I think is actually a pretty elegant way of doing what they did. It still provides a benefit to selling stuff, where people can get a temporary boost in effectiveness, but not make their way all the way instantly to level 600. Like, it's just, it makes life a little bit easier without being able to jump straight to the end. Now, that said, most people aren't going to grind every slot to 600. They're going to have their set, and the way that the gypsum system works is really going to allow you to kind of focus in on your specific set a little bit better, instead of relying on random drops to move it up. Yeah. So
and You Better Sleep is wondering whether the people will still be able to grind their watermark after the patch to 600. But yes, they definitely will be. The difference is that there will be targeted ways for you to be able to specifically target your grinding, to either a particular weapon or particular armor, or item, that kind of thing, using the gypsum system. The thing is, it's somewhat time gated, so you can only target those once, or I think it's once a day, something along those lines anyway. But essentially you'll still have the same sort of the same system that we have at the moment. You'll just have an additional system to help additionally sort of target your grinding to a particular item.
Yep. And it's going to be really useful, like, even for the people that have already ground most of their gear to level 600. It's going to make your life even easier, because you're not sitting there waiting for a random drop of a trinket or something like that, where you can sit there and say, hey, I'm going to each day just put into this specific thing. I want my amulet to go up a level, up a rank. Okay, so let's keep pushing that. That said, you can still do open world farming. You can farm expeditions. The high level expeditions are going to guarantee for each boss a bump in your gear score. So that's a that's a big bonus.
They're also adding some additional elite chests in those things as well. So,
and they added more elite chests around the world, and they increased a couple of new areas to level 66 to make it so that there's more areas for people to actually grind that gear score outside of that.
Yeah, because at the moment, like you know, I mean, if you've done sort of grinding in any kind of way, shape, or form, you know that, like, you know, the majority of that is done up in the Shattered Mountain kind of area. So, you know, this way it kind of like spreads the areas out a little bit more, and sort of, you know, people aren't sort of like, you know, people who are grinding on top of each other all the time.
Yep.
So that's good. That's good. And by the way,
try to keep an eye, because we also haven't been waived off on whether or not there's going to be an actual change tonight, or like.
I've been kind of wondering.
I don't think like we're starting to get to the point where they're probably starting to look at going home. So
yeah.
But at the same time, we did get this yesterday, so that's something.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's all we've really got for the day. I wanna say thank you to everybody, because like these kind of streams are the reason we do this. You know, I want to thank everybody who hit that subscribe button. If you guys hit that follow button, so you know when we're going live next, come join the Discord. One of the things that recently has changed on the Discord is that we've upped the moderation settings on it to prevent bots. This is mostly due to some Steam scams and stuff like that we want to protect people from. The challenge to that is joining the Discord does require Discord to validate your phone number, which is also a good opportunity to set up two-factor authentication. So both of those things are good things. We don't get that phone number. Like, just putting that out there.
Exactly. Yeah. Two-factor authentication should be the bare minimum authentication and security measures that you have for, you know, things that you use every day on the internet, like this day and age. And don't, you know, try not to go for the whole SMS two-factor authentication stuff. Use a proper, you know, app authenticator, because SMS two-factor authentications can be spoofed and can be, you know, circumvented to some degree. So, you know, just a little tip there for you guys in terms of two-factor authentication, you know.
Absolutely. So we do have a couple of channel announcements. I know people are starting to file out because we basically signaled that this is kind of the end of things for the day. But as a channel, in prior shows, we started discussing the development, which it's now officially under development, of a gaming and entertainment show that'll focus on gaming news more broadly, around, you know, all games. Probably, you know, due to our interest, we'll probably focus a lot more on MMOs and first-person shooters. I know recently several of us have been getting into Bloons, which is just a comical game that, like, it's a tower defense game that's team-bit. Like, it's surprisingly fun. We're not sponsored by them, but like, if they want to sponsor one of our streams, like, I'd actually be game to do that on a stream because it's comically good. Aside from that, we may also be looking at some additional coverage content around Star Citizen specifically, as many of us also play that. But if you guys are looking to keep an eye on that, please join our Discord. Check out our YouTube page. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube page so you see that when that happens. Thank you guys for hitting the subscribe buttons, the follow buttons, the like buttons on YouTube, the you know, likes and shares and retweets on Twitter. Like, literally, you guys make this worth doing. And legit, we love every part about it.
Thank you very much for all of the support. It's fantastic.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to. I'm really terrible at this, but I want to go raid another another channel. And
I see.
there's a guy that I know who's online right now, and odds are most of you guys know him too.
I think
if
I
you've
know who you
heard
might
of
be
Viva
going
La
to.
Dirt League,
Yeah.
one of their guys is super common. As we get a hype train, I love you guys. Like, one of their guys, the guy who plays Adam, has a YouTube or has a Twitch channel, and he's currently streaming. So if you guys want to check out his check out his channel, we're going to be rating his channel at the end of the show here. So, yeah, let's go have some fun, make him feel incredibly welcome in the New World community, and
Yes,
as we always love to say, we will see you guys in the New World.